Welcome to Chik Chat, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Chik Chat podcast. This week I want to talk about being the victim and what that can do for your life, for progression in life, whether that's romantically, professionally, and just how easy it is to get trapped in a cycle that ultimately doesn't help you. So I'm going to quickly get started by my challenge of the week or my tip of the week. My tip of the week is going to be this podcast, is going to be finding a way to do you without sacrificing who you are, and to be able to kind of still have hope that there's always another option, there's always a way to move forward, and that yes, sometimes giving up is what you need to do, but that doesn't mean that you need to give up forever. And I suppose this is why I wanted to do this podcast today as well, so I might as well just get straight into it. So this week has been quite an interesting one, and it's not even just this week. So recently I have been I've talked to G quite a lot about this, and I've also talked to my brother. But I remember when I first broke up with my ex. So like I've said before, we were together for 5.5 years. We'd actually been dating for nearly 6 years. And when we broke up and I finally reached out to friends and family to tell them what was going on, I wasn't just dealing with a long-term breakup. I was dealing with incredible trauma that had come up after years and years. I was dealing with dynamics between some of my relationships that just felt like they were falling apart, and there was a lot going on where I remember telling people, and especially my closest friends, and then being like, what? How are you just going through a breakup, or one of the things that you've talked about is a lot anyway, but to be going through all of this at the same time and to be able to articulate it so well, and to be able to sit here and just explain it is incredible. And back then I just thought, well, did I minimise kind of what was going on? Not that I minimised what was going on, but I think in my head I just had this attitude of I've just got to get on with it. And I thought that was always the right thing to do, because in my mind, if you just got on with it and you found something positive, something to give you a bit of meaning, then you'd be fine. But it's only recently that I've looked back and I've just realised that actually I went through a period where for a long time I kept myself as a victim. And this isn't to downplay anything that I've been through, or if anyone's been through anything similar, that obviously I know I'm not being very clear in terms of what's happened, but if you've been through anything in life and you were resonating with what I was saying, this isn't to minimise or invalidate what you've been through, because what you've been through is deep and it matters that you find a way to deal with that. But the point I'm trying to get to is I looked at a lot of my situations and saw that I was the victim, and rather than finding a way to empower myself and use that to help me move on and move forward, I let it keep me in a place where it allowed me to hate. It allowed me to speak badly to myself. It allowed me to focus on the negatives. And I've talked a lot on here about manifestation, delusional manifestation, these goals that I've got for myself in life, and how it's just this, it just feels like a miraculous turn of events that I've changed my mindset and all these things seem to happen. But why do those things seem to happen? Because I've changed my mindset. And I'm saying, for a long time, I'll give you a brief of my life or kind of where I am. I am the firstborn daughter in an immigrant family. I'm the firstborn in an immigrant family. I'm the oldest sister. I am a businesswoman. I am a homeowner. I am a content creator. I am a black woman that works and has worked predominantly most of her working life in predominantly white spaces. And what does that mean? It means that there are people that just dislike you for the fact that you breathe. I lived in fight or flight for so long, and that's something I'm trying to get myself out of, where when my anxiety got really, really bad, I couldn't even leave the house during the pandemic. Like, literally couldn't walk across the street to go to the shop to pick up, like, some sweets, whatever else I needed to go back. I was just stuck at home, and it was such a horrific period of my life. And it's not to say that I didn't need to do any work. I was in therapy for a reason. And I think what therapy, and then what I've learned after not being in therapy, has taught me is that, yes, the things that I happened are deep, and I'm in such crap situations sometimes that I don't have control over, but I have control of how I look at things and see things. And my dad used to say to me, like, be careful of the stuff that you put online because of how people judge you and how people see you. He was completely right. But I think where I'm the point I'm at in my life is where I realise that the people that look and see the things that I talk about as negatives are the people that shouldn't be in my life. And those are the people I don't want to work with in business. Those are the brands that I don't want to work with as a content creator. Those are the people I just don't want to be involved with. Why? Because they make me feel crap as a person. And when you've already got so much to deal with, like I was talking to my team this morning, we had a team meeting, and like we'll have a check-in, and I've always made it very clear that their mental health is a top priority to me. Above everything else, I would rather take on less work and make sure that we're okay before going back to doing more. And they don't always share exactly what's going on in their lives. And as a leader, I'm going to lead and show up as an example, because if I'm not honest to my team about what's going on in life, with family, my relationship, and whatever's going on, why should they trust that I've got their best interests at heart? I've been in companies where it's like, yeah, we're a family. And it's like, well, you're a family until it suits you. And I could go in and start crapping on people that have done particular things that have been like really negative in my life. And I don't want to do that. Why? Because actually I've realised that I've got so much more control than I allowed myself to believe. And when I've sat there and realised that I've got a lot more control, like when I sat and thought, okay, someone might not commission my food and travel show, doesn't mean that I can't start it. We did a podcast. I've had someone message me actually recently about like them enjoying that episode and looking forward to like seeing more foodie like stuff, and how they enjoy like my foodie stuff and had missed it when I'd stopped doing it. And it's like, you forget that there are people that look at you and watch the stuff that you do and find inspiration, take some kind of positivity from that. And because I turned around and said, I'm not going to wait until someone tells me I can do this. I'm going to start doing it and figure it out as time goes on, as I do with this podcast. There's going to come a time when it's all going to make sense. It's all going to be okay. It's all either going to turn into something big, or it's just going to stay as I want it to stay. And it will have been something amazing that I've done in the meantime. But through that, I've started looking at like wanting to travel again, and the fact that I actually want to travel with G most of the time. I do want to do a bit of solo travel, but I love being with G. I love the way that he makes me feel. I love the support that he gives me, and I love the relationship that we have. So I don't want to leave him, because I'll just spend the first couple of days like feeling really sad. But at the same time, I also know that I, as a person, I need that time on my own to be able to like not lose who I am. But then that thought then made me realise that a lot of the things that I saw as being the victim, or that made me want to stay being the victim, are actually the things that make me really good at what I do, that make me an empathetic person, that make me good at being vulnerable, that make me get some of these clients because they see me sharing my story, they see me not focusing on the negatives. And yes, there are times, like I felt like rubbish yesterday, I did basically nothing, which is fine. And there are days that you need to do that. But I think what I'm starting to learn is that now I've taken myself out of that victim mentality and realised that a lot of the things that I'd have joked about and gone, oh, it's because of trauma, that's why I'm like hyper alert and all these things, those are actually now my biggest strengths. So all this time people have been telling me in the last, like since I was a kid, anything you put your mind to, you're going to be successful, you're going to be amazing. Now I'm like, actually, you are right. And not only am I going to limit myself by saying I'm a content creator or I'm a marketing agency owner, I'm like, actually, what do I want to build? What do I want my life to look like? And I take a lot of inspiration from my niece, because I look at the world that I want her to grow up in. I look at the person that I want to be for her. And I look at the fact that I want to be able to, like, I never want to lie to her. So I'm going to have sometimes some difficult conversations. Sometimes I'm going to have conversations that maybe her parents are going to be like, should you be telling her that? But I want her to always know that she's got someone that she can be completely honest with, that will tell her anything, because vice versa, she's going to do the same for me, and I'm always going to know that she's got someone to trust. And I'm lucky enough that I've got a brother that sometimes I think, like, what would I do without my brother? Because when I'm stressing and when I look at the negatives of things, this is someone that reminds me of how those negatives can turn into positives, of how incredible I am, of how amazing I am, and just reminds me that I'm a boss. And it's like, without him, I know I'd figure it out, but I'm just so grateful to have someone like that in my life, because, again, where I'd have looked at our relationship and said, I'm really grateful to have someone like that in my life, like, that's great, I maybe wouldn't have focused on what that gives me. But now I do focus on what that gives me. It makes me focus on, like, the types of people that I do want in my life, because I know that I want them. I know that no one's ever going to get me the way that Mlenga does. That's just the way that life is. However, even when I look at, like, my relationship with G, Mlenga's got 7 years ahead of, or 26 years ahead of G, since I've known G for a year. But even when I look at, like, how I want G to know me, the relationship that I want us to have, I take a lot of inspiration from the way that me and my brother are, because, again, yes, a lot of the way that we are is because of maybe some negative situations, but that's not made us less worthy of being loved, less worthy of making money, less worthy of building wealth, less worthy of buying a house, less worthy of anything. If anything, it's building a little community of people that are always reminding you and going, you are worthy. If with everything that you've been through, you have to remember that you are worthy, because you are you. You are unique. You have your own story. And sometimes I sit and look at, like, my content and the things I want to put out, and I'm like, I want to be inspirational. I want to be educational. I want to just show my authentic life. But at the same time, there comes a point between that where it's like, I don't want to monetize everything, because I just want to be able to live my life. But I find it easy to create content and to share my life, because what I share with you guys and on my socials is genuinely how I live my life. Of course, some of that is made to look a bit better because it's socials. So when G's doing my hair, like, you won't see when, like, I didn't post when G was, like, trimming my hair, because sometimes it's just, you just want that time to yourselves. But it doesn't mean that those things don't happen. And when they do happen, and I want to create content out of that so that someone can see and it can be something exciting, it's also like a way that I look at and go, this is a way that I'm looking back at my life and seeing my life through my lens, but it's a different lens, an external lens. And even when like my editor does some of the videos, that edits the videos, when she creates the videos, I'm like, I'm seeing my life through her lens. And it's really interesting when you start to see that, because, like I said, the mindset shift I've gone from of depression and sadness and anxiety and all of that is still a part of who I am. It will always be a part of who I am, but there's another side to that that makes me look at life and go, there are positives to this. There are ways that I can find ways to shut off, but when I want to work, there are ways I can push myself to do more of what makes me authentically happy. So yeah, I suppose I don't know whether this podcast is for me or for other people or what it's going to be, but I guess what I'm trying to say with all of this is we are the curators of our own lives. There are things that have been done to us, there are things that have happened to us that we have no control over, that we have to do the work for. And yes, that is horrible, it's upsetting, it's frustrating that you're having to correct the work of other people's just mismanagement, other people's stupidity, other people's selfishness. But that doesn't mean that that's it. It doesn't mean that there isn't a way to find your own empowerment in that. It doesn't mean that it's all negative, because there's a way to find that. And again, it's not about toxic positivity. It's about slowly taking your time to find who you are, to find what drives you, to find how you can turn some of those negative things into positives. So with that, I'm going to end with actually the like, how am I really feeling, and my win of the week, because I think it kind of ties in. And how am I really feeling is, I've struggled a little bit recently because I'm having to deal with kind of like really going back to setting boundaries that, as a people pleaser, it makes me really uncomfortable. But at the same time, I'm just in a happier space because I feel so much more in control. And as I practice being more authentic and just sharing my story more, I'm getting rewarded by the work that I get, by the people I get in contact, by the relationships that I have, which is absolutely amazing. So I'll end with my win of the week. And my win of the week is I got an email from someone that saw one of my Facebook reels. It was something to do with me and G, and the person was saying that they are based in Northern Ireland, they're in an interracial couple, and they loved my content and they find it really inspiring, and just to keep doing me, to keep going, because there are people out there supporting me. And honestly, I could have cried, because like I said, the content I put out, I maybe need to be smarter and monetize some of the stuff that I do more, but I do it because I genuinely want to do it. I genuinely enjoy what I do, and I love what I do and the message that I try to create, because I look back and that's advice even for me. So for someone to take their time out to send that email was huge. It's amazing. So yeah, quite a huge win of the week. And yeah, a short but sweet podcast. It was just something that came to my mind. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to jump on here quickly, and it's inspired me and I want to speak about it. So I really do hope it's helped someone. And yeah, if you want to have the conversation, feel free to always DM me. And thank you as always for the support that you guys give me, because yeah, you help me figure things out, and yeah, just find a way to find happiness in the little pockets of life that maybe aren't as happy. So yeah, thanks as always. Keep liking, subscribing, commenting, and doing everything that you do, because I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.